Alright, what's up everyone? This is going to be my first video with a new class item. I finally have a god roll of one. This is the only one I have on any class, unfortunately, but I finally got a Spirit of Apotheosis, Spirit of Star Eater. As you all have probably seen, super damage with Star Eaters is very strong, and then if you pair that along with Apotheosis, this becomes one of the best support DPS builds in the entire game. Now the reason I'm saying support DPS is that specifically you want to use Tractor Cannon with this build so you can buff your team while also still doing a ton of damage. I mean, as you can see from these clips, I'm doing 2.5 million damage, not even optimized, and this is also completely alone. This is fantastic because it gives the Tractor Cannon user a very optimal way of dealing damage while also buffing the rest of your entire team. Now I could keep showing boss clips, but another important part of this is the neutral game. Sure, this might be very good on a boss, but is it actually going to be good to get to that boss? That is what this whole video is going to be about, breaking down how to use it on bosses and how to optimally get to the bosses. And let me just say, it is honestly one of the best neutral games in the entire game as well. So be sure to stick around to learn everything. And really quick, I want to say thank you all so much for 50,000 subscribers. We hit this milestone a couple days ago, and I'm honestly still at a loss for words. I seriously cannot thank you all enough for all the support that you show. So if you are new here and enjoying the content, definitely be sure to hit that sub button and drop a like. All of the support is truly appreciated, and let's try to knock out the next milestone together. Jump right into it. Let's take a closer look at the exotic class item. You're going to be looking for Spirit of Apotheosis and Spirit of Star Eater. With Spirit of Star Eater, you can stack up to 6 Feast of Light stacks, and at 6 stacks, your super is going to be doing 70% more damage. Now you can pair this with things like Needle Storm or Nova Bomb to do a lot of burst damage, but where this really comes into play is paired it with Song of Flame. Once you pop Song of Flame, you're going to be getting 90% damage reduction, and all your abilities are recharged very quick. You're going to be causing constant ignitions over and over again. This is what's going to allow you to use Tractor Cannon and also still pump out a lot of DPS. And next up for Spirit of Apotheosis, once your super ends, you're going to be able to spam your abilities even more. These are just going to be your base abilities, but these will heavily play into some of our fragments and still be able to cause a lot of damage. The really cool part about this is that every single time you pop your super, you're also going to heal to full like the normal Apotheosis does. It doesn't say it on the bond, but it still actually gives you that benefit. So every single time you pop your Song of Flame, you're getting that 90% damage reduction, you're healing to full, 70% increased damage, and then after that is over, you can even then go on to spam your other abilities to still cause a lot of damage while always having a debuff on a boss so your team can do even more damage themselves. Now obviously your subclass is going to play a major part into this. I want to actually start off talking about abilities. We're going to be running Incinerator Snap for the first one. This is going to be a great melee. This can cause ignitions. The way you want to use it is you snap the ground very close to the enemy, and then all of the sparks that come out will hit the enemy and scorch it, and it's enough scorch stacks to cause an ignite on its own. This is great paired with Spirit of Apotheosis because every single melee you can just ignite an enemy, which leads to more damage. And then for our grenade, we're going to be running Storm Grenade because it does a lot of damage on its own, but we're also going to be pairing that with Facet of Dominance. So your Void Grenades weaken targets and your Arc Grenades jolt targets. This is great for a couple different reasons. You can apply Jolt to a boss when you're spamming your Apotheosis now, so you're going to be able to jolt enemy, ignite enemy, while also just doing the normal damage of the abilities. So you're going to be stacking up a ton of damage just with your base abilities. And a tip for this is to throw your Storm Grenade on a boss, then pop your super so you can do super damage while also have the jolt effect on that boss for even extra damage. The other benefit of this is the fact that jolt is very strong for ad clear, so you're always going to be able to have your Storm Grenade up pretty much at all times, constantly killing enemies and constantly jolting targets, so your neutral game is going to be crazy strong. And to help out with that neutral game and the way we're going to keep our Storm Grenade up is the fact that we're going to be running Feed the Void. So defeating a target with any ability to activate Devour, your Devour effects are improved, restoring additional health and grenade energy. So I think we all know how strong Feed the Void is. You're going to be able to easily proc this, you're going to heal to full on every single kill, and you're constantly going to be granting grenade energy back, so you can have them for ad clear or to throw them on a boss. Feed the Void alone already makes the neutral game of this build extremely strong, but we can even then come over and pair that with things like Hellion, so whenever we activate our class ability, we'll get a little Solar Buddy to do extra damage. The Solar Buddy is nice because it can also apply Scorch, so every time you go into a boss fight, you want to have your Hellion active. It lasts for 20 seconds, so it lasts for quite a while. This will pair with your super to apply more Scorch to ignite more often, and it will even pair with your Incinerator Snap once your super goes down, again to just ignite enemies a lot more often. On top of that, since this technically is an ability, if it gets a kill, it can proc Devour, so your melee, grenade, and your Hellion aspect can proc Devour. You have 3 ways to proc it, and then once you proc it, you're pretty much going to keep it up infinitely. Hellion is also a great neutral game buff because it is constantly going to shoot all the ads around you, and it can even ignite again because it does apply Scorch. It is honestly growing to be one of the strongest aspects of the Warlock, and it pairs extremely well with this build. Now, since we are heavily playing into our class ability so we can get our Hellion up, we're also going to be on a Phoenix Op because this just has the lowest cooldown. It can also heal you in a sticky situation. You just want to use it though so you can have your Hellion up a lot more often. We're then also going to pair that with Facet of Hope, so while you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. Since we're going to have Devour up literally all the time, Facet of Hope is always going to be proc, so this just means we're going to be able to get our class ability back extremely fast alongside our grenade. Now, Feed the Void and Facet of Hope are not going to be the only ways we're getting our grenade and class ability back. We're also going to be taking Facet of Awakening, so rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage or super final blows generates an elemental pickup of the matching damage type. This is going to be great because I would highly recommend running a Volt Shot weapon with this. We'll talk more about that once we get into the weapons part of this video, but that is just going to make it so you can easily make Onyx Traces. The Onyx Traces contract to you, and you're going to get ability energy for all of your abilities. This is also a great way to get your melee back over time as well. Now, if you want to play more into your melee, you can take Facet of Balance, so getting rapid light damage kills will actually give you melee energy. The reason I'm not taking this one is because I do prefer the Onyx Traces to just grant me all of my ability energy, just so I can spam by other really too strong ones over and over again. And on top of that, Facet of Awakening also grants 10 resilience, but it is totally cool if you want to swap this out for balance. It's just however you want to set it up. Now, our next must-have fragment is going to be Courage, so your Arc, Solar, and Void abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted with darkness debuffs. This is going to be extremely nice because if you're in a raid scenario, you're pretty much always going to have a darkness debuff applied to an enemy from Unravel, Slow, anything. So your Song of Flame and your normal abilities are just going to be doing more damage, which is always great. If you want to, you can take something like a Chill Clip weapon to apply this to yourself if you want to get into some specific DPS rotations. This is a great thing to learn, but if you just want to go the normal route, just shooting Tractor Cannon over and over again, you could totally do that. But if you want to fully optimize your damage, taking something like a Chill Clip Fusion can be great because you're not only doing more damage with the fusion, but you are proccing Facet of Courage, and if you're going solo, it's probably something you want to learn. Then for our final fragment, we're just taking Facet of Protection to get more damage resistance. This is pretty much in every single prismatic build. It's great to have. When you pop your Transcendence, you get even more damage reduction. But speaking of Transcendence with this build, you don't really ever have to proc it that often. It is nice if you use your super, get all that out, use all your Apotheosis ability energy out. You can then pop Transcendence to get even more abilities out to cause Work Night. So this should pretty much always be your third go-to, or if you're just in any scenario leading up to a boss, you can pop Transcendence if you need to, just kill some ads a little bit quicker. But normally your Storm Grenade or even your Scimitar Snap has you covered. So normally I just save it for a third ability spam function after I get the first two out. Now for your artifact perks, we're going to be taking Radiant Orb. So whenever you pick up an orb, you become radiant, do more damage. You can stun barrier champions. It's very, very nice. Next up, we're going to be taking Galvanic Armor so we can get damage resistance while we are amplified. This is another reason I like to run an arc weapon or any Volt Shot weapon. Not only can we make the Onyx Traces from Facet of Awakening, but now we can also become amplified because we are running Storm Grenade, and this will just give us even more damage reduction paired with everything else we already have going on in the build. Next up is going to be Shield Crush. This is pretty much another must-have. You're always going to be amplified, you're always going to be radiant, so your grenade's going to be doing more damage, and it's going to regenerate faster, so your Storm Grenade can just kill more enemies. We're not going to be taking advantage of the top part, unfortunately, because we're not going to have any of the other buffs, but just getting the grenade damage and regen alone is very, very nice. Next up, I like to take Transference. You could also take something like Expanding Abyss to make your Tractor Cannon do more damage. Yes, it doesn't do a lot on its own, but I mean, hey, if you're just shooting Tractor Cannon over and over, I guess it's a nice buff to have. But with this, with Transference, if you do have your Transcendence active, again, kind of your third route to just ability spam, your grenade and your melee will just do more damage. So if you pop your super, you've done your Apotheosis, you can then just pop this so your grenade and snaps do even more damage, which is nice. But unfortunately, since you do have Transcendence active, you are going to be using the Singularity Grenade, not the Storm Grenade, but that Singularity Grenade does apply a darkness debuff to proc things like Facet of Courage right here. So it's still very good. So that's why I just opted to take this. And then for the final perk is Elemental Siphon. This is basically Facet of Awakening. I can just get arc kills and I can make even more Onyx Traces. Pairing that with Awakening, you just get more ability energy. It's just great to have. But now moving on to weapons, obviously I've talked about it a lot, but I would highly recommend running a weapon with Volt Shot. Volt Shot is insanely strong for ad clear. On top of that, it is going to be an arc weapon, so you can always become amplified to proc your Galvanic Armor. Subjunctive is a very strong option. I would highly recommend the new raid bow, the non-denouement. If you have it, I still haven't gotten one. I'm at 0 out of 5 on the pattern. That is 100% the weapon I will pair with this build once I get it, but as for now, Subjunctive is a very strong option. good. Since this is all around support, I would highly recommend Tractor Cannon. Now, if there is another Tractor Cannon user and they're just dead set on running it, you can swap this over to something like Dragon's Breath, so you can just shoot Dragon's Breath and then spam your abilities over and over again. Once you get the Ignite, it will reload. You can then shoot another Dragon's Breath off. That is still going to be very strong for the setup, but 9 times out of 10, I would highly recommend trying to convince the other person to let you do Tractor so they can do more damage with whatever weapons that they are using. And then, like I mentioned, running a choke clip weapon so you can self-proc Fast Courage is nice. It's not super necessary, especially if you are only using this in a team, so you can kind of run whatever special you would like to, but this is a great option because choke clip's obviously very strong on its own, and it can help proc some of your fragments. And moving on to stats, I would highly recommend 100 resilience for 30% damage reduction. I would then go with 100 discipline so you can spam your grenade a lot more often, and then if you can get to 100 recovery, this is going to be great because again, you can spam your Hellion a lot more often as well, and this will also play into some of our armor mods. And then for the rest of your stats, I would definitely just throw them into strength so you can maybe spam this a little bit more often. Super and mobility don't really matter too much, and for your super, you're trying to save up your Star Eater stacks anyway, so you don't want to be spamming it a lot. So once you get it, you're pretty much good to go because you want to get these to max stacks. Now, these are my armor mods if you would like to copy them down, but as a more in-depth look, I'm going to be running an arc siphon so I can make orbs of power. This will pair with some of our other armor mods. On top of that, obviously this will pair with our Star Eaters. Next up is an Ashes to Assets, so whenever I get grenade kills, I'm going to get bonus super energy, since you want to get to your super pretty quick so you can start getting those Star Eater stacks. This is great to have. And on top of that, Dynamo, so whenever I use my class ability near an enemy, I will get even more super. Since you can spam your grenade and your class ability, this just means you're going to be getting to your super a lot quicker. But if you do want to run stuff like Heavy Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Scout, you can totally do so, but overall these are just very, very strong. Next up for our arms, I'm going to be running an arc loader just so I can reload my arc weapon a little bit faster. Then I'm going to be running a bolstering detonations so I get class ability energy when I deal damage with my grenade. So your storm grenade now is also going to grant you Phoenix Dive energy, and then I have 1 point left over, so I just doing a fastball. If you have any other energy available, momentum transfer is going to be a great option just so you can get your melee back a little bit faster. But for me, this is all I had because I had to do a 4 recovery mod. Now for your chest piece, always go with resistant mods. Just be sure to swap these out for whatever content you're going into. And then for my boots, I do like to take a recuperation, so whenever I pick an orb up, I get a bump of health. This is just nice to help out with survivability. Honestly, with Devour, you already get enough health, so if you want to swap this out for getting any other ability energy, you totally can, but this is just nice to have if you see an orb on the ground. It just gives you a chunk so you don't have to get a kill to heal. Next up is Absolution, so whenever I pick an orb up, I get ability energy for all of my abilities. This is great. It works alongside the Onyx Traces you're collecting because they're both just going to grant you a chunk of ability energy for all 3. And then finally, a Void Holster, which is probably the most important because this will gradually reload your Void weapons over time. This just means your Tractor Cannon, you just never have to reload it. You can shoot one Tractor Cannon, swap to your fusion, do damage, throw your super, everything like that, swap back to your Tractor Cannon. It's going to be reloaded. You just shoot one bullet, store it away. You literally never have to think about it. Surge mods really don't matter too much for this build since you're just buffing your team anyway and doing super damage. But I guess if you want to take something that will pair with whatever fusion you're running, you can. But overall, I think this is the better setup. Now, finally, for our class item, I do like to take a bomber. So when I use my class ability, I get grenade energy back. So now my Phoenix Dive can grant storm grenade energy, just like how my arms, my storm grenade grants Phoenix Dive energy. They work in tandem together. Then powerful attractions. So whenever I use my Phoenix Dive, I will collect orbs around me. This is great, obviously, for Star Eaters. And then we can also run things like utility kickstart. So whenever we use our class ability, we're actually going to refund a chunk of it back based on the amount of armor charge we have. So this is just great. We can spam our class ability a lot more often to keep our Hellion up at all times. On top of that, the class ability does cure you as well, so it's great to have in sticky situations just so you can heal. And overall, with all of this paired together, you're going to be able to spam your abilities all the time while also buffing your teammates and doing a ton of super damage. Now, probably for the most important part of the build, this is the Transmog I'm running. If you like to copy it down, I took advantage of the new raid shader, some of the new seasonal armor. I think it turned out looking absolutely sick, if I'm being honest. It also took advantage of some of the Root of Nightmares armor, and I did end up getting the ornament for the class item. You can't really tell a lot about it really, but it's more dark theme. I think it goes with this armor set a lot more than the normal one, and I even have some of the prismatic look coming out of the helmet, and of course the class item as well. So if you want to make your Warlock look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. But all right, that is going to do it all for me. Let me know what you all think about this build in the comments below. This is honestly some of the most fun I've had on my Warlock in a while. Is it as good as the stasis turret build just for neutral play? Of course not, but if you are taking this into a ball scenario where you need to have a tractor cannon, this is 100% going to be the best setup that you can run for it. for it. It puts out absurd damage. You get a ton of ability spam. You're pretty much unkillable as well on top of that. And you even get to take advantage of great ad clear with things like Jolt from your weapon and your grenade. It's something I would highly recommend every single Warlock try to set up if they can. And I know it's going to be saved to one of my loadout slots permanently from now on. Anyways, though, I want to thank you all so much for watching, especially if you made it this far in the video. Be sure to comment the word support and I'll try to leave a heart on every single one of them. I wish you all the best of luck on putting this build together for yourself, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.